Hello, Achim Yekarim. How are you? I hope you're having a good week. Wanted to give you the Chidush of the day before we start our next shiur, Bezrat Hashem, in Miami. This week we're going to be reading Megillat Esther. Megillat Esther is a very, very beautiful story full of miracles. And the first question that Chazal asks in Masechet Megillah is, how come the name of Hashem is not mentioned in the Megillah? It's part of the critical parts of the Torah. It's part of the Tanakh. And it's the only book in the entire Megillah that Hashem's name is not there. The same question that people ask today. Where is Hashem? How come He's not giving me a miracle to show me that He's really there, just like He did to the people of Am Yisrael and in the desert, in Egypt, before, after, in the Bet HaMikdash? There were open miracles. Why doesn't Hashem just show Himself and make everyone a believer? Well, first and foremost, one thing that we learned from Mount Sinai is that miracles do not make people righteous. They may acknowledge that God exists, but it doesn't necessarily stop them from sinning, as we saw from the Chet HaEgel. But in the Megillat Esther, one of the things that Hashem wanted to teach us is that this is the last generation of open miracles. But He's going to show us these miracles through the Megillah without showing it in an obvious way to anyone that's not investigating the issue. But anyone that reads the Megillah, you can see that every little piece of the puzzle added up, so much so that it's impossible for anyone to believe it wasn't open miracles from Hashem, so much so that at the end of the Megillah, when Chazal told Esther, listen, we don't think that your idea of publicizing the story is a good idea. Maybe the Goyim are going to go after us. They're going to be upset that we're mentioning our God. She goes, no. The Goyim already know the story. They obviously saw it. And even they agree that Hashem was a very big part of it. Hashem was all of it. Just to give us a little bit of a taste of how Hashem works in our life and how we can connect it to Megillat Esther, we saw that in the beginning of the Megillah, after Vashti, the original wife of Achashverosh, king of the world at the time, 127 countries, as it mentions in the beginning of the Megillah, she refused to go see him. The reason why she refused to go see him is because Hashem punished her for the wickedness that she made Jewish women work on Shabbat. He punished her and destroyed her beauty by giving her the disease of tzarat. So after she refused, she didn't tell Achashverosh that, hey, listen, I have tzarat, he's going to throw her in the garbage. She said, no, I'm not going. And by the way, I am the queen Vashti, not Vashti the queen. Achashverosh obviously didn't take it too well, became furious, and he asked his advisors, what should I do? One of the advisors, his name was Memuchan. Memuchan, actually Chazal explains to us, is really Haman. And Haman said, not only do I think that you should punish her, but this whole idea that the king should have to ask permission from his advisors, I think you should cancel it. I think you should have complete authority over everything. I think that you should have no need to ask for any advisors, and you should punish her, because if you don't punish her, then all of the wives of all of the men, of all of the kings, and all of the regular people will disrespect their husbands. You have to show as an example. Now, when it mentioned originally, it mentioned the names of the advisors of Achashverosh. It mentions Karshina, Shetar, Admata, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memuchan. We see here that the last name, the last person that was mentioned was Memuchan, was Haman. So why is he speaking first? Here, we have to go back to the Mishnah. And the Mishnah, it tells us in the Mishnah, chapter 5, section 7, it says, 7 traits characterize an uncultivated person, and 7 traits a learned one. Meaning, 7 things characterize a fool, and 7 things characterize a wise person. A learned person does not begin speaking before one who is greater than he in wisdom or in years. He does not interrupt the words of his fellow. He does not answer impetuously. He asks relevant questions and replies appropriately. He discusses first things first and last things last. About something he has not heard, he says, I have not heard, and he acknowledges the truth. And the reverse of all of these traits is characterized the uncultivated person, the fool. So first thing we see that Haman violated this Mishnah. This shows here that he is a fool. As much money as he had, because he was a very, very wealthy person, he was still a fool. Money does not make you smart. It makes you think you're smart, but not necessarily make you smart. Why? Because here we see that he was the last person that Ahasuerus referred to, but he was the first one that spoke. That's not something that a smart person does. Usually a smart person lets other people finish what their thought is, because also one of the main things that we learn is that usually when someone has lack of confidence, they're always interrupting the other people. It's not only shows a lack of confidence, it's not only show foolishness, but it also shows that the person doesn't actually care about the other person's idea, which is very, very unethical. The next thing is that it says it does not answer impetuously, right away give him the whole idea. It's not a good idea to give everything in one shot. He asks relevant questions, he replies appropriately. We see that the idea that Haman had didn't exactly pan out, because when Ahasuerus asked the rabbis, which is even before his own wise people, the rabbis said, no, you know what, we know, they thought to themselves, we know that if we tell him to kill her, tomorrow morning he's going to wake up, and he's going to realize his wife is missing, he's going to blame us, he's going to kill us. If we don't tell him anything, then he's going to say, you guys are useless, he's going to kill us anyway. So what are we going to say? So they told Ahasuerus, listen, since the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, they destroyed our ability to judge in the Sanhedrin. So we don't give any rulings. Not just for you, Your Honor, but anyone. We don't give any rulings. Had a very, very clever way of getting out of it. Because sometimes when somebody asks you for their opinion and you know that there's only lose-lose scenario, the best thing you can possibly do is find a clever way to get out of it. But on the other hand, we can never forget, we can never forget that if you see someone sinning, you have an obligation to rebuke them. Obviously not rebuking them by screaming at them in the middle of the street, but you can't bring sin upon him, meaning that you have to rebuke him in a nice way to show him the right direction, or show her the right direction. Keep calm, be collected, and show things in a nice way, but at the same token, we can never forget that there's a time and a place for everything. After this, we see that it says about the wise person, he discusses first things first, last things last. About some things he has not heard, he says, I have not heard. And he acknowledges the truth. And the reverse is for the foolish person. All of these things add up with one major conclusion. Hashem not only wanted to show Am Yisrael that this wicked person Haman and this wicked king Ahasuerus are fools, but he wanted to show Am Yisrael that he is in absolute control and he's going to use their own words against them. Because we find out at the end of the Megillah, when Esther, after praying very hard and getting the entire nation to do Teshuva and fasting for 3 days, which is the reason why many people actually this week, for years, fast 3 days for generations. Fast 3 days instead of only 1 day, which is going to be Wednesday. But the fast on Wednesday is the one that we have to do, not necessarily the 3 days, unless you can do it. But we see that after she fasted, after everybody did Teshuva, after everybody asked for Hashem to please help us, that Hashem provides the cure before the ailment. This very event, at the beginning of the whole Megillah, is the secret of how Hashem provided the cure before the illness. By using Haman to say to Ahasuerus, listen, you shouldn't ask for any advisors, anything. When the time came and Esther told Ahasuerus, listen, there's a person that's trying to kill me. He's trying to kill my people. And he said, who? And she told him it's Haman. Ahasuerus said, hang him right away. He didn't ask any advisors. Why? Because of the very same law that Haman suggested Ahasuerus to do. So we see that sometimes we question Hashem. Where are you, Hashem? Where are you, Hashem? Where are you, Hashem? How come you're not here today? How come this deal didn't go through? How come my wife is not happy with me? How come my kids are failing at school? Where's the miracles? How come I'm not feeling good? Sometimes we go through trouble, not because Hashem wants to torture us, but He wants to show us that we have to use those experiences, number one, to connect to Him, and number two, to see His miracles right in front of our eyes, because He already provided us the miracle before we even knew that there was a problem. Chazakim Abuchim, may Hashem continue to bless you, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll talk again tomorrow.